the way.
We're wanted men.
I have spoken.
Welcome to episode 137 of the Smugglers Galaxy podcast, your favorite Star Wars podcast for smugglers in the galaxy. This weekend, we've got Narayan with us. And Jason. Jason's here too. Hi, Jason and Narayan.
Hello there.
Hey there.
Hey, Narayan was just at Celebration, so we'll get to that in a minute, but there's a lot to talk about this week as far as Mandalorian goes and the Ahsoka show and Celebration, more news, and of course there's always the Micro Galaxy Squadron. There was a big reveal thing last night on that, so we got a ton of stuff to talk about this week. How you guys doing this morning?
I'm doing well. A little tired, but I'm doing well. I can't complain.
That's the fun of having teenage daughters, right?
Yeah. Doesn't
Yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot going on. What went on last week? My younger son is going to junior prom today. Later
Oh,
this evening. So
exciting.
yeah.
Can't wait to see the photos.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm pretty exhausted from Celebration, but it was a great time.
Dude, you don't sleep during Celebration, do you?
No, you don't. Not by choice, but yeah, you just don't.
You sleep on the airplane ride there and back, and then that's it. The rest of the week, you're just running on pure adrenaline.
Yeah, I don't know how you catch up on sleep. I'm not sure you ever do, but
You can't.
that's how it is.
You can't. You just start feeling better again.
Yeah. So how was you guys' week? Did y'all pick up any? I know, Narayan, you probably picked up a whole bunch of stuff at Celebration. Did you pick anything up, Jason?
Well, this week I picked up a couple blind packs for Micro Galaxy Squadron. I got the Anakin chase with the Stab speeder, and a Leia on her speeder bike. So
Nice. We can tackle Narayan. Narayan, did you pick anything?
Ryan's got a laundry list of things
other than Celebration.
Yeah, there's quite a few pickups, a lot, some of which were kind of ongoing deals that were prearranged and, on payment plans and just arranged for pickup. But do you want me to just go over those now, or
Yeah.
you want to? So
Do it.
yeah, so at Celebration, I think there was a few big pieces that I picked up. The one new piece that had not been prearranged, I'll do that one first, and that one was shown to me on setup day by Yubnub Toys, UK based. A lot of the Echo guys, Echo based UK guys run that booth, but they showed me a Luke Jedi tri-logo blue saber, which is a piece. So it was this was shown to me on setup day, which is Thursday, and it was from Yubnub Toys, which is run by the moderators of the Echo Base UK group, and Tom Scaife, if you know him, and it was a tri-logo Luke Jedi with a blue saber, which is a pretty rare piece that I've been looking for a long time. It has never come up for sale. I believe there's like 8 out there in existence, that are known. So this one was offered to me, so I had a day or two to consider it, and kind of figure out the price. And yeah, I'm not going to pass that up. So yeah, that one was the big purchase of the show for me, and pretty much blew my budget for purchases. So
before you leave, the blue lightsaber was packaged early because of the trailer. So is that tri-logo a mistake, or is that something that came out super early?
So what happens with a lot of tri-logo how the Blue Saber ended up on tri-logo cards. It's thought to have been overstock baggies that were basically there were a few still remaining with Blue Sabers that ended up on those cards.
Wow.
For the most part, they're light green sabers. Palatoy, no country of origin Lukes, or Smile Lukes that end up on those cards, or Taiwan Lukes, basically.
Congratulations.
All of us have green sabers, but yeah, rarely a few have shown up with Blue Sabers, also on Palatoy cards as well as tri-logo cards, both of which are really rare.
Nice.
So yeah, that was a huge pickup. Did not expect that, and again, something that was right in my wheelhouse, my focus collections. I'm not gonna bat an eye on that one, even despite the big price tag.
Yeah.
Thank you. Other things that I picked up at the show, Darren McAleese made an early posting during setup day of a custom Harbert fet that was kind of a more of a custom figured display piece, not meant to look like an actual Harbert fet, which is ultra rare, but looks great for display. And they actually had this piece sealed in acrylic with a kind of a custom AFA like tag on it, and it was a limited run of 50. I believe it's all, I think it was the retro figure inside, and I believe the card is completely custom, but it looks amazing on display. And of course not priced like a vintage item, but so I had to pick that up. Just a great novelty piece. So those are kind of my main kind of just toy purchases of the weekend. Purchased a few pins and other things from the Celebration store that people helped me with. Let's go back to just vintage pickups, things that are already kind of arranged and was just picking up there. One of the big pieces that was involved in a trade that I did was a Dengar Palatoy 45 back with the if you're familiar with the swag set that we did for the celebration, which involves the bounty hunter offer that was exclusive to Palatoy. It has all the kind of markings of that particular offer with the kind of free bounty hunter offer. And what's interesting about this piece is Dengar is the offer. So this is essentially a Dengar card with a free Dengar offer, sort of like a 9 num with 9 num offer. That was in like the Toll Toys Australian and Canadian markets. So it's a kind of a unique piece and also pretty rare. So was able to make a deal to get that piece. Two other pieces which I picked up there, a Top Toys Yoda from Paul DeSykes, and that's a Top Toys Yoda on card. Again, super rare piece. And also a Yoda tri-logo miscard on a Warrock card. That was from Sebastian. And yeah, that again was something that was pre-arranged. So yeah, very happy with the piece I picked up. Two other pieces of note, Matthew Bartlemy from France that I bought from him, a Meccano loose Boba Fett, as you know, one of the rarest loose variants for Boba Fett. This one was even more unique. It actually had a paint error on the backpack, which is missing the blue paint on the backpack. So as you guys know, I collect Fett paint errors as well. So this is a nice rare Fett variant with a rare factory paint error as well. And I also happened to pick up the pre-production run for Ryan Shaw's Slave Leia that he made back in the day in the early 2000s. Matthew bought that from him back then from Rebel Scum. He still had the original box that Ryan mailed it in. So he gave me that box, and this includes the sculpt, the hard copy, the all the different mold pieces, and so yeah, I haven't even unwrapped those, but I can't wait to see how those look. But that's the entire pre-production run for that Slave Leia.
And the reason why we're smiling about that set is it's just odd. Ryan lives 4 or 5 hours south of us, and you had to go to Europe to buy that set.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this was funny. That was one of the first pieces that I ever got to know that's how I really got to know Ryan, was that first Slave Leia piece. And we never I bought one from him back in the day, but never got a chance to meet him until Celebration Orlando. It's kind of come full circle now that I've been able to acquire that it's a custom pre-production run.
Right.
And one of the most famous customs,
yeah.
vintage style customs there is out there.
Right. And he's somebody that I'm sure we all three consider a friend. So it's just I know he listens to the show. So hi, Ryan.
Hello
so it's funny how things happen where you've got to travel a 10-hour plane ride to pick something up.
Yeah, and that's lovely, and it was great that he still had the original mailing box that Ryan sent him and everything. So, and Ryan has supplemented this pre-production run with a few other pieces in the last few weeks. He said, "I'm really going to pick this up, so might as well give you these other things." So
incredible.
Right.
So that was all great.
Awesome.
Well, congratulations on the 7 Grail of pickups. That's incredible.
There was a couple other minor things like card backs, but we'll just get on with the rest of talk. So
it's all pale in comparison.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's this is how I would describe Celebration, and I was just thinking about this in the last few days. If you are familiar with the recent one of my favorite movies of the last few years, the recent Best Picture winner, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, is a perfect description for Celebration Europe. It was like a barrage of things coming at you from all directions. Your sensory overload. You're trying to do 100 things at once, and you can't be everywhere, and you're surrounded by everyone in existence, and it just is. It's amazing. People don't just get completely overwhelmed by the experience and just lose it. And if you guys know me, you know how organized I am trying to go into these things. This one was very challenging to navigate and get through. I thought I came in prepared, but it was a lot. And I'm comparing this to U.S. celebrations as well. Compared to the last few I've gone to, I've never felt this exhausted by just navigating the day-to-day flow of a celebration, and that's how it was. And again, I don't want to take away any or put a lot of negative spin on this, but it was a great experience. It took a lot of work, and I think anyone that will have come back from Celebration, I think, will say the same.
Well, I think we could start with the challenges and end with the positives. I did hear someone say that they sold too many tickets for the amount of space. And then listening to David Quinn's Prototypes and Productions podcast, he was talking, someone was talking to Jim Swearigan, and you could just hear the crowd, and Jim just had to kind of stop.
Yeah.
And then he could start talking.
Yeah, and I think we'll reference exactly what happened there in that. I had a chance to listen to David's podcast, which is wonderful, and you should all take a listen to that. I unfortunately had like a large segment recorded for David's podcast that didn't make it in time. I didn't realize David was going to release it literally the day after I arrived. So I couldn't send my recording, and it was like a 10-minute recording in time because of the Wi-Fi issues there. But so let's start with first of all, it's an overseas celebration. So obviously you have to deal with jet lag, you have to deal with the travel, you have to deal with getting your luggage and whatever you're bringing over there, and planning ahead as to what you can actually bring back. And then a completely, for me, the first overseas celebration I've been to, so unfamiliar territory. I've been to London before, but not been to Excel before. The convention center is laid out a lot differently than a lot of US convention centers. It's one long building,
and with two entrances, the west entrance and the east entrance. And it's about, if nobody was in the building, it's about a 20-minute walk from end to end.
Wow.
And there are two halls, a north and south hall, straddling each side of a large boulevard, an indoor boulevard, which has all the fast food stalls and seating areas and so forth. And unlike, just let's do Anaheim for comparison, that's one big hall, and you have a hallway outside, and you can directly go outside from that hallway. And there's multiple entrances and exits in Anaheim. Here, once you got in, and initially I was able to get into the east entrance, which was great because it was right next to my hotel, which is on the east, but the main entrance was on the west. And after about a day or two, they closed off the east entrance, to come in, and you could still exit that way. But at that point, there's no walking areas around the Excel. You have to take a train from the east side to the west. It's just basically one train stop, but annoying if you're carrying things in for setup and everything each day to get on a train to do it and then get, to the west entrance.
That sounds ridiculous.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Because
I had an exhibitor pass, which, makes 100 things easier. But still, if you have a normal pass, you still have to deal with the queues, which
Right.
I didn't have to deal with on a daily basis. But even without that, I'm carrying a lot of stuff every day in my backpack and other bags and bringing things in, to get from my hotel, to get on the train stop, get on the next stop, come off, then get onto the main, the exhibitor entrance, and then walk. You still have to walk about 10 minutes to get to where the halls are. And the one thing I would say is having two exhibit halls across the hall from each other doesn't sound bad initially, but when both those halls empty into a central boulevard, that central boulevard is super packed. So there's really no escape. Once you get out of those exhibit halls, you're back into a huge crowd with the escape exits all the way at the end.
The fire hazard.
And, yeah. So there were times, especially on Friday and Saturday, it felt like you were riding a wave of people.
Wow.
Where you were just moving as they were moving, and you just kind of went with the flow because you couldn't literally make a path.
Wow.
So I got most of my things done before hours, at least, shopping things or, looking around. Because once the show started at 10, there was no breathing room in some places. And the fact I was looking forward to panels, collecting track panels, or some of the main panels, or special events like the Prisoner Run and the Willrow Hood Run, to actually escape some of that, because you actually had some space and just some time to just settle in and breathe and just catch up. Wi-Fi access was okay. It wasn't great. There were times when it was non-existent, or there were just too many people online, and you just couldn't send.
It's like that at every con, though. I mean, I never count on Wi-Fi. I mean, yeah, it's like that everywhere, though. You can't say, use that necessarily as a negative, because, like I said, every show you've got thousands of people trying to use Wi-Fi, and it never works right.
Sure. No, that's for sure. But even to just check and see where you need to be at a certain point, I had a lot of volunteer shifts, both in the collecting track and with the American Star Wars Coalition group, and it's hard to keep track of time in Celebration.
Oh yeah.
So that's and people are I'm getting 100 messages on my
yes.
and so to keep up with any of that was impossible. But again, I managed. I came in fairly organized, and if I didn't, I think I would have been lost pretty quickly in there. But,
I mean, sorry, go ahead, Jason.
You go.
Right, fine, I will. That's what people love about our show. We're always stepping on each other and apologizing.
I didn't apologize. It just said you go.
Oh, fine, I will.
Sorry.
Great to-
Oh, you're good, man. How did
I just apologize. That's the joke.
you sure did.
I did that
I
on
guess my
purpose.
question, I mean, you've been to a bunch in the US and you've been to this is your first one overseas. I mean, the jet lag, it wasn't too bad a jet lag in California because I was able to battle it pretty quick because you just say, F it and you stay up late and then you sleep and you can catch up. How was it battling all that, in going to England?
Yeah, I mean, you're so driven by adrenaline during these things that like you just manage. I mean, to be honest, I mean, I was lucky to be on an overnight flight on Wednesday, and actually had a lot of miles credits, and I was like decided, you know what, I really need to sleep because I know I won't sleep. So I decided to upgrade my seat, and that was the best decision I made all weekend. And had a reclining seat, not the full bed seat, but a pretty nice reclining seat with good meals that they didn't disturb you every other hour. And I was literally able to get 5-6 hours of sleep on that plane flight, which really helped.
Right.
Because I knew as soon as I was getting off, I was going straight to setup and straight to Thursday night, and the next day's celebration is going to start. So once you arrived, it's run, and just going all cylinders. And it takes a bit to certainly get used to jet lag, but again, since you're so excited about seeing friends again and being in a new place. You just kind of power through. I definitely glad I built in a day at the end after celebration was over to kind of just for sightseeing or just basically just catching up on sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually really smart to do that and not come back immediately.
Yeah.
And
I've learned real quick, especially with California, that if you're going to a place you've never been, you need to build in a couple of days for sightseeing because you're going to kick yourself for not going to see stuff.
Yeah, I wish I could go out to the Death Valley with you guys. It looked like a blast.
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, one of the unique things that I think Dan Uthman, who I spent a lot of time with this celebration, made this point of this on David Quinn's podcast, was one of the cool things about the location of this celebration is it was actually very close to a lot of filming locations, especially for Rogue One and Andor. And if you really had time, you could visit Takodana and a few other places, I think from Force Awakens, that were a little further out from London, but you could, if you had time, visit those places. So it's actually a great, not a great celebration that you could have, visit a lot of locations if you had the time. But as it is, there's a couple were just a few subway stops away, and were pretty easily done. And I was able to do those on the Tuesday after celebration. Those guys actually did it Thursday morning before I arrived. But really amazing to see, and easy to find shots from Rogue One and Andor in those areas.
Amazing. So shifting to the positive, you got to hang out with Chris Reif. Can you share that story with Hasbro? I thought that was a pretty cool story.
Yeah, so I knew of Chris Reif because he was actually had worked with Jim Swearingen and Tom Osborne and Tim Effler at Soda. After those guys had left Kenner, and I think he had worked on like the Riddell mini helmets. Actually, he was the main designer on those. And of course, those guys recently at Toylanta mentioned his name to me. And he's been at Hasbro Design for quite a bit, but never really had a chance to cross paths with him. And so I didn't even know whether he was going to be at the booth this time. But I ran into Chris Tregulius at the collecting track on setup day, And he mentioned to me he had run into Chris Rife downstairs, not downstairs, but in the exhibit hall, and they got to talking, and he mentioned that Chris was actually had been looking into doing a Gargan coin at one point. Literally, and Chris, of course, mentions like, oh, there's these two collectors actually made one, and they're passing it out at this celebration. Of course, being me and Mark Huber. And so he mentioned to Chris Rife, he was like, yeah, these guys were doing this coin. And so when Chris saw me, he's like, oh, make sure you see Chris Rife at the Hasbro booth. I told him about your Gargan coin, and he was thinking about doing one, but I told him you had already made one, so I'm sure he'd be very excited to receive it. And as I mentioned all about Celebration and kind of navigating the exhibit hall during normal show hours, I missed him probably 2 or 3 times on the first couple days. Finally got a chance to connect with him on Saturday. He was at the booth the same time I was. And we got a chance to talk for a bit, just about a lot of different things, and especially about the Gargan coin. And of course, gave him the swag that we made there, and he was so excited to see it. I'm sure we'll talk a lot more with Chris Rife, and glad I got a chance to finally meet him.
So just to clarify, when you said he was looking into making the coin, I don't know if you could share this. Is it professional or personal?
I'm not sure. I asked him exactly. I don't know whether he actually planned to make that for Hasbro, or personally, to be honest. But I think he wanted to make it through Osborne. In which case, I'm not sure, because Hasbro hasn't used Osborne for their products, so maybe it was a personal thing. But well, one of these days, maybe we'll have him on an interview, and we can ask him to elaborate on that exact thing that he wanted to do. But yeah, that's an interesting concept if he was going to do it for Hasbro. But I hate to put him on the spot, and I don't know exactly what he had planned there, but it was.
I don't want to get him in trouble.
Yeah. So.
Oh, come on, Jason. Let's get him in trouble.
You can get him in trouble because you have inclination for trouble.
Yes.
Danger's your middle name.
Exactly. With a lowercase d. Anyway.
Narayan, the other thing I wanted to ask, and I think this is just maybe helpful for me, and maybe people want to know this. So you had mentioned seeing a lot of people that you've met online, a lot of people you haven't seen in a long time. So how do you get to know people overseas? Is it just participating in the Echo base kind of stuff and then meeting them for the first time? Like how did you, I guess, kind of saturate into that international collecting community?
Well, a lot of them, they, the great thing about Celebrations is, people come from everywhere, and, we're very fortunate to have a lot of international collectors visit domestic Celebrations. So I think it starts there, at least started there for me. Whenever I've met people at room sales or collecting track events or other things, you just get to know people bit by bit over multiple events. And then you make friends with them on Facebook, and you get to know them online. And of course, you join their, the international based Facebook groups, both in the UK, Echo Base being a big one, Java's Court another one. Of course, we've gotten to know some Spanish collectors who visited Atlanta, Fernando, and he has a circle of friends there in Spain that he introduced me to online, but I had a chance to meet for the first time here. Daniel Cubero and Javier Florencio Suarez. And they were there. A lot of German collectors that I'd met, some at previous Celebrations like Thorsten Gret, but a few new ones like Marcus Salgert I met here, Sebastian Sekula, and a lot of Australian collectors as well. Of course, Mark Salati I've known for a while as a coin collector, but Pat O'Brien I met for the first time, but we've known each other for quite a long time online. So you just the online community, you have a lot of overlap between a lot of international collectors and US collectors. And, I've certainly had transactions, for pieces with them, but also just have discussed collecting topics over, the last few years. Of course, as years, it's natural to kind of become friends and you just talk over different topics. And it began online, and now I'm very blessed to have met a lot of these people, at previous celebrations and at this one. And, it just tightens those bonds. So it's an amazing thing. And I'm pretty sure some of these people may never make it to a US celebration. So it's an amazing thing when you can have that personal time face to face with them. And, you're seeing them in their home soil in some cases. So it's a lot different than meeting them when they're here. Of course, they're dealing with the same challenges I dealt with when I went over to the UK. They have to deal with jet lag and all the difficulties of getting here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice when they're a little more relaxed, and of course they can show you around and how to navigate the different things like pubs and bars and the landscape of London as well. So it's a lot of fun. So.
What was the coolest thing you saw? I mean, I know you got to well, number one, I know you did the Willrow Hood run and you did the prisoner run. How close were you to getting on stage and being like in the center of all that stuff when they did the prisoner run?
Yeah, so I would say, of all the things I did that weekend, those two runs were definitely the biggest highlights. Followed closely by, I think, some of the panels that I attended, which, normally I'm not a panel guy and really have not won any lotteries before until this celebration. But let's talk about the two runs, which were similar and different in a lot of ways. The prisoner run is the first inaugural run at Celebration. And of course, we're talking about the prisoner, breakout from Narkina 5 that was highlighted in the Andor TV series, season 1. And probably somewhere close to 200 plus runners.
Wow.
A fairly easy costume to make or buy, and easy to wear. And so there was, very popular, probably the most popular costume that I saw at Celebration, myself included. And this was on Friday afternoon, and we gathered outside Celebration stage right after the Andor panel. And some of the runners were already inside the Andor panel. My schedule just didn't allow me to make it in time for that. But they were already inside during the panel, and the rest of us were basically just waiting right outside the escalators of the Celebration stage, waiting for the other runners to come out. And our run coordinators had already kind of discussed it with the panel coordinators inside Lucasfilm and Repop to possibly have a picture on stage, Celebration stage after the panel. And so shortly after the panel concluded, they invited all of us in to take a picture on stage together. And we were thrilled to have Tony Gilroy and Diego Lino join us for the picture.
Amazing.
And I think there was a couple other panel members too. Excuse me. Join us for the photo. So it was an amazing experience. Now I will tell you, about a week or two before, I knew he was doing the run with me, and when he showed me what he was planning to do, my jaw dropped, and I'm like, you are nuts.
Yes,
you are nuts. And like, if you're doing this, I can't wait to see it. And so he showed up a little bit before we went on stage, as we were lining up and with our on program lineups, in the hall outside. He shows up with like the Death Star sprocket piece that they're assembling in the prison, and I assume it's made of foam because he was actually literally carrying this thing. And just to give you some context of this, Ross actually had just been suffering from food poisoning on his flight. So he was dehydrated and sick on Thursday night. So he wasn't even sure he was going to make the run.
Wow.
So he was resting most of the day. So I wasn't even sure he was going to make it. And but he showed up with this thing. And all of a sudden, everybody's attention in the main boulevard in Celebration, watching all these prisoner runners, focuses in on Ross Cuddy and this huge sprocket. And he's just turning around, and of course, Lucasfilm gets him on camera and all this thing. Later I find out that, we show up on like the main Facebook feed for StarWars.com or in a bunch of Twitter handles.
It was all over the internet, man.
And I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And he came actually there in a wheelchair, wheeled by his wife Charmaine, and I said, it's probably a good thing you came in this wheelchair. I know you're probably fatigued and dehydrated, but how did you actually plan on carrying this thing around during the run? Because it's just bulky, even if it didn't have a lot of weight, it's just very bulky, and this thing is bigger than him. And of course, we got lots of he got asked for tons of photos in front of there. And then at some point he's just asked, he's like, Charmaine can't stay for the run. Would you mind wheeling me around in the wheelchair during the run? And I said, well, it wasn't something I planned on, but sure, why not? It'll be fun. So, ended up, I was his attendant during the runs, which was a lot of fun because, I got to be in the photos, of course, as well. With, I don't know how many people took photos of us during, that initial gathering and then during the run itself. But, it must have been like 200, 300 photos.
Incredible.
Did that day, and probably one of the most photographed things that, was photographed at Celebration that day. That was a ton of fun, and literally, I think a few people are inside the panel told me later, it's like, oh my gosh, you guys were so loud out there with your one way out. It was like everybody could hear you. And I'm pretty sure everybody at the Celebration exhibit hall knew that run was happening because it was loud. There were that many people, and it just had everybody's attention. And so as soon as we came back out from the Celebration stage, we started the run, which I didn't think was going to be a real run, but people did literally run and jog to the west entrance, the front entrance of Excel, and online now. So I've been trying to post those slowly over the last few days. So that was definitely, I think, the biggest highlight for me at Celebration, to be a part of that run and be a part of that with Ross during that, have that experience. The Willrow run, a bit smaller than the Andor run. That was on Saturday afternoon. Still a ton of fun. Florian, of course, led the run again. Our founder of the Willrow Hood run. What was cool about this run, and we made several stops. I think to get some great photo ops for that particular run. But there were 2 ice cream trucks actually in Excel in the indoor food halls, and so we actually had a little ice cream break with a food truck there, and it was funny. We were all surrounded this ice cream truck yelling, "Ice cream, ice cream, ice cream!" They were like, "Oh my God, what the hell is happening here?" And I think
it felt like there was a lot more, if maybe not Willrow Hood, but the ice cream theme and I don't know how much of the swag that you headed last year and headed again this year played into that, but it felt like the ice cream theme is really starting to take off in Celebration. Yeah,
for sure. I think people are, if, Willrow Hood hadn't make that whole ice cream thing familiar enough, I think our swag set is certainly, I got the feeling a lot more people were keyed into our swag set this time. I think something like 80 people completed the set. It was a smaller set, but still, that's a lot of people that were motivated to finish.
Also felt like there was an insane amount of swag at this Celebration compared to Anaheim.
Yeah, I would say overall it was probably less, but it was a lot more than I think most of the European celebrations have been used to. And I think a lot of them, they're not used to making a lot of patch sets over there. And so a lot of the attendees were telling me, like, I've never seen so many swag patches, being given out at a celebration. And so it was, definitely for them, a kind of a different and new experience. And there were some amazing swag sets, not just ours, our ice cream set. There's a great Rebel set that Tim and Sarah Arns coordinated. Of course,
that one killed me. They actually, I saw like a preview of that back when we did the summer social, and yeah, that Calicori set, man, that was amazing. That's the one set. That's the only patch set I've ever seen that are like, I've got to try to get that, and I'm sure it was impossible because there was a lot of pieces to that thing.
Yeah, I'll say is, and of course, there was the brew patch set. The Twin Suns Brewery again had another iteration using Mandalorian characters. I will say that swag was a lot more difficult to find people and trade with at this celebration. One, because of the crowds. There was no kind of collecting track social room. And there was the fan booth area was very small. And so areas to actually swap and trade, you can't really trade in the middle of a huge crowd where you have no space. And
Right.
so, there were a few events, but again, for you to really kind of build in time to get to those events, you couldn't do it like it was like, oh, it's 5 minutes from now. There's no way you would get there with those crowds. And so it was a lot more difficult. I ended up doing a lot of trading again before and after the event, during some of the collecting track swaps. Of course, we had our ice cream social on Sunday. And just by the way, that ice cream social, I think we at one point had a line of about 200 to 300 people.
Wow.
Just where we were giving away, our the swag stuff and helping people complete sets. This was near the Norwich booth. Again, it was not a huge space, and it was already crowded as it is. So to have like 200, 300 people just back, and I couldn't even see these people. That's just someone was telling me. It's like that line stretches way back there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I was just amazed that that many people took interest in our set, and I was glad that so many people were able to complete it and be inspired for future projects. So, but yeah, got a lot of great feedback. I think we were probably the most well distributed set at Celebration, and a lot of people loved it. And I'm glad we decided to do a set. I think you guys know that that wasn't a given, and it was something that we got started on fairly late. And
yep.
But I'm glad we were able to get it all together in time. So
yeah, it's your project management of that patch set and Richard's designs that really, and it's just a fun set. And like someone was it you, Glenn, that said like nobody wants kids to collect beer patches, but ice cream is something that everybody loves.
It was somebody that we had on the podcast. I don't remember who. Or I know it wasn't still Jordan. No, I think it might have been Joel. But anyway,
but still, it was incredible.
Still, yeah, it's a great patch. I think the Calicori set was probably the hardest one to track down because it was a lot of pieces. But I want to move on a little bit. I still want to talk Celebration, but we're getting close to an hour and we still need to talk Mandalorian. How do you feel about it?
Talk about the panels at Celebration at the same time we talk about this, I think, so we can weave that in.
Say that again, Narayan?
I was going to say we could talk about the panels at Celebration and we can weave that into discussion with the Mandalorian as well. So
all right, cool. Yeah, let's. I want to talk about it being in Tokyo or Japan next year. Or in 2 years? Are you going, or is your plan to go? Or
I mean, my immediate response when they announced it was like, oh, forget it. I'm like, it's hard enough to get here. And but that being said, it's 2 years away. I've never been to Japan. I'd love to go at some point. There's obvious logistical hurdles. It's a 3-day event, which really, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event over Easter.
So it is Easter again. Great.
It's Easter weekend, which doesn't matter so much in Japan, but more matters here because a lot of people want that time off. So it'll be challenging to get that time, and really being Japan, you have to build in the travel time. So it's really, you have to take off time off of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's too early for me to really, say yes or no for sure. I was a little disappointed it's not a US celebration in 2025. I was really hoping that it would be Orlando. It's that being said, my initial response to London was also, I was like, not sure, but I'm glad I went. You find a way to make it work. So
right.
It's not a clear no right now, but we'll see. We'll see. Right now, it would take some effort, and but it's 2 years away. Let's think about it a little bit.
Was there any,
how long?
It needs some time to settle into the idea.
Was there any rumors of a US based celebration after that?
Not as far as I've heard. Right. There was already rumors on the floor. I had heard the Japan rumor earlier in the weekend and was not really sure if it was, how much of a, but it turned out to be true. So
yeah, that's part of me is like it crap. I'm upset. Not upset. I'm upset that it's not in Orlando in 27 or 25. Japan's a place I'd like to go to, but yeah, not for a celebration. I'm also one of those people that I don't want to go a place that I can't speak the language. I don't want to feel like not out of place, but I want to know what say that again.
Fish out of water.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to be fish out of water when I travel, but my wife and I were talking and we're like, man, if it was in Australia, it would not be it would be a, let's plan it or let's look into it. Japan is just like, no way. But I also think that with COVID, and if you look at the way they kind of planned, Anaheim was supposed to be in 2020. Europe was going to be this year. I really think they was going to plan. They had a plan for an Orlando celebration in there that we missed out on because there were 3 years between our Anaheim and England. There was time to throw an Orlando celebration in there that we missed out on. So that's one of the bummers. But truthfully, I think in 27, it's probably going to be Anaheim. But I'd be all right with that. It would suck, but you make the trip if they're going to do it. But
yeah, I mean, 27 would be a big celebration because it's the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, of course. So it'd be interesting to know if what
they have to.
Then. But it's such a long time, and especially the East Coast celebration now, it's a big period between those now.
Yeah, I was messing with my wife, and I'm like, what if I don't like Star Wars in 5 years or 4 years? And she just spit her drink out.
Shame on you. Burn all the rebels.
She was like, let's sell your stuff now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what, though? I've learned not to get too upset about these things because as members of the collecting community now, we've made so many friends that we've kind of grown beyond just celebration being our hangout.
Yeah.
Right. So
many great collector events that take place throughout the year and on off celebration years now that it doesn't worry me too much that, there's no domestic celebration for a while because I feel like we'll fill that gap.
Oh yeah.
And we've already have our community already. And, we'll find ways to make connections and meet up and I think there's already been some workings in that direction, as you both know. It's not too much of, if I don't get to go to Japan, it's not too big of a deal because I know there'll be other great places that I'll meet my friends in the meantime. So
yeah, I think after the crowds, having an intimate personal experience at some sort of smaller event is more attractive. I think celebration is great, but at the same time, having something more breathable, something you can relax at is great.
Yeah, and I really have to say, and I know we wanted to keep going on to the panels in Mandalorian, but one of the great parts about Celebration is things after hours where it's much more intimate, much more of a smaller group setting. You know, a lot of us met at the Novotel bar. You know, there was no big central hotel this time. So there's a lot of small hotels, so people are more spread out. But we did figure out, you know, one nice bar at the Novotel to kind of gather at each night. And it was a nice place to just kind of hang out afterwards and not deal with the massive crowd, you know, all day long. So that was nice. And again, like I said, I think those are the things I was really looking forward to. You know, were those places where you could actually literally talk and breathe and actually just relax and hang out. And those are, for me, the best parts of Celebration.
Yep. So
So Mandalorian.
yeah, let's talk about Mandalorian. I have bullet points, so I'm not going line by line, so we can keep this brief. But the title was called The Spies, but we only saw one spy, which was no surprise to anyone, Elia Kane, at the beginning, which was an incredible Blade Runner looking scene. Who's the other spies?
Dude, everybody.
There's
There's so many rumors.
I mean,
There's
go ahead.
Yeah,
there's three possibilities. There's Axe Wolves, there's the Armorer, and then I'm also hearing the guys on the boat.
Yeah.
I'm hearing those three possibilities.
So I don't think it's the Armorer or Axe Wolves, just because Gideon looks so surprised to learn that the Mandalorians are being a pain in the butt again. Because if it was one of the Mandalorians themselves spying, he would have been notified of that already. So I think it's the recruits that they get on Mandalore. It's almost like Gideon's like, go get those people, bring them to me for this trap we're gonna set.
Yeah, that's my best thought, though I'm still a little bit wondering about the Armor, because of how things kind of came into play afterwards. She does a very quick turnabout in accepting Bo-Katan into her kind of clan, you know, which she never really had a very positive opinion of her before. And all of a sudden, she puts her on this direction of a mission. You know, they just came to Navarro, they just settled in. He's like, now we have to take Mandalore, and we have to find this forge. You know, the old forge on Mandalore, and it's like, it seems very convenient. You know, all of a sudden we're moving the fleet out of here. We're just kind of settled into a new planet, but now we're going to go here. And she also conveniently is not with that group. She's headed back towards the fleet. You know, not going to the ambush. So I wonder about her, but I think, yeah, the new people that were on the boat that they met on Mandalore seemed highly suspicious because they also knew where the old forge was. How would they not know that Moff Gideon had already set up a base there?
Yeah.
So it's yeah, we'll see. There's definitely there's a traitor in the midst, for sure.
I would have issues.
I mean, there could be more than one too.
Yes, that's true.
I would have issues with the Armor being a traitor because of that's just not how she's been set up. She kicked the ass of stormtroopers in the first season. It's just like, that's a little too convenient for me.
I think the main thing that's making her one of the talking points is the fact that both her and Moff Gideon have horns on their helmets.
Yeah.
I think there's been some talk that she's actually Rook Cast, which is a Clone Wars character that had a similar, you know, which was part of Maul's kind of Darth Maul's kind of faction. And so, yeah, you wonder where her loyalties really are, but yeah, you have to kind of, her actions so far have not shown that seems disloyal at this point, but maybe it's a bit of misdirection each way to make you suspect that, though. But we'll see. It should be an interesting final episode. I should let you guys know that quite a few people who were attendees of the Lucasfilm panel on Friday, I wasn't one of the lucky ones, but they actually were allowed to see that episode early Friday afternoon at Celebration. So they had seen it, and I know Daniel had seen it, and he said, I think people will be very happy that Mandalorian is back on track after that previous week's episode.
Yeah, he messaged everyone and said, keep faith alive.
Yeah. So they just saw 6. They haven't, or they just saw the
7.
one that's
Yeah,
already aired.
didn't
They haven't seen the
final.
finale.
They just saw the one that we just saw Wednesday. Yeah.
Wow.
The meat of this episode, the juice, was the Shadow Council. I devoured this scene and I loved it so much. And there's several reveals. First of all, this is our first live action Admiral Pelion, which is from Heir to the Empire. He was the second in command for Thrawn, and I love the fact that here he is. He's advocating for Thrawn. Thrawn is coming back, and Gideon's getting tired of it. He's like, "You've been promising this for so long. I want to be the one in charge." And so some of the things that I theorize is happening in the scene. Brendel Hawks was played by Domhnall Gleeson's brother,
Yes.
and he is Armitage Hux, which we saw in the sequel trilogy. That's his father. So he's in charge of Project Necromancer, which is, necromancy is bringing people back from the dead. So I would assume it's a project bringing the Emperor back. This part really made the Rise of Skywalker a little bit better for me, because I had trouble adjusting to Hux's turn in that to be a traitor spy. I was just like, that doesn't seem like the character, especially when you see his rage in The Force Awakens. It was tough, but here, if Project Necromancer, and it enhanced Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's amazing to see. Again, I was excited when there's mention of Thrawn and Captain Pelion, and kind of making those tie-ins again with both Heir to the Empire and, of course, Pelion. I think we saw him in Rebels as well.
Yeah, it was a quick scene.
I recall. So it's great that they're kind of moving in that direction. I'm sure it'll be a little different than the Timothy Zahn novel. So far, there's no indication that there's any Mara Jade character is planned, but we'll see. But it was great to see the Shadow Council, and finally we could see that something bigger is happening behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Right.
Proof that it's actually happening. So
and they set up in the episode with Pershing on Coruscant. He explains what he was trying to do: insert genes into subjects. And the reveal was, I always assumed Gideon was trying to bring back the Emperor. I thought that's why he wanted Grogu. He's looking for genes to help make Snoke or clone the Emperor or whatever. Now I'm wondering if, because later in the episode he's saying, Gideon was saying he's trying to aggregate the best in each: the Empire, the Jedi, the Mandalorians. I'm wondering if he's trying to insert some sort of Force-sensitive gene into himself and become the next Emperor, because we do see him make a play to lead the Empire.
That's a good point. That's interesting.
I
didn't
see
think about
Gideon
that.
as being quite an opportunist, and kind of trying to gain power for himself, and clearly seeing the void where Thrawn is not there right now, and he's trying to kind of take control of his council,
Yeah.
to some degree. So
A couple other things I wanted to hit. Bo-Katan reveals how she lost the Darksaber. That made sense to me.
It did. It's a throwaway line. Here we go, and we're going to explain everything in a throwaway line. So I was fine with that.
in some ways it makes her a little more sympathetic too, though.
Yeah.
That she didn't just, she was doing this for her people and to help save her people, and she was still betrayed, and gives her that little extra motivation. And the fact that she was not able to share that until now, that basically everybody judged her for essentially being a coward.
Mm-hmm.
In losing the Darksaber, but she really did it, as a self-sacrifice to some degree.
IG-12. What'd you think of IG-12?
My number one thought is like, how long is Baby Yoda going to be able to fit in that thing?
Oh man,
I thought it was a little.
This is like continuation of Baby Yoda cuteness type overload.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think of IG-12 just now. Of course, we've seen the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comparisons.
Oh yeah.
Already, but it's funny. It's almost like they telegraphed it, because when you look at those initial scenes of IG-11 wearing that backpack with Grogu in it, it's just like they replaced the backpack with a hollow unit. So anyway, I mean, it's fine. It's nice to see him a little bit more mobile.
Yeah.
And be able to involve a little more, but
Speaking of foreshadowing, Din says to Bo-Katan, "Your song is not written yet, and I will serve you until it is." And which means I will serve you until you die. Which I'm like, well, is that what's gonna happen next week?
Oh, how far do we want to go into this?
Not too far. Let's just keep it surface level because we still haven't done the news.
Oh wait, what's going to happen next week? The
Bo-Katan is going to get killed.
I don't think Bo-Katan's going to get killed.
No, they've built her up too much in this season to have that happen yet. I hope not.
I think
disappointed.
I think it'd be awesome if she gets killed, and when we drop this, it'll be released the next day, the season finale. She gets killed, and although I kind of feel like she's going to be the one to ride the mythosaur, but then Din jumps on the mythosaur and just destroys the Empire.
I've got a feeling we haven't seen the last of the mythosaur #1, and
Right.
And I just feel like her arc isn't. It's too early for that arc to close yet. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm not sure where they're going with it. I feel like it's going to end on a cliffhanger the way it's going.
Yeah.
Maybe not a good ending.
They're going to Empire Strikes Back us on this season.
Yeah,
I think the first 2 seasons ended on happy endings, and this one I don't feel will. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think Gideon's going to get that Darksaber back.
No, he's not. No, you're putting it on the wrong person, Jason. You're putting it on the wrong person. I don't think she's not the one that doesn't survive or doesn't make it out.
We'll see.
I think it's Din. I think Din's the one. He's going to end in handcuffs. I don't think they're going to kill him, but they're going to write him off for a little bit.
No.
I've heard rumors for the past year or two that they're changing this.
No. Din's going to die, Bo's going to die, and Sabine's going to take the Darksaber next week.
There you go. Let's go, man. I just watched that episode of Rebels this morning. Oh, it's so awesome.
All right, take a deep breath, sir. Keep it surface level.
I'll add my
episode.
2 cents in there that Rick Famiyama at the panels did mention that the title The Mandalorian may not necessarily refer to one person.
Yeah, I get it.
Gotta wonder.
Sorry, you can't hear my clapping because Zoom cuts it out.
You gotta wonder whether Din is going to take a back seat for a bit, and he's going to be the one that needs to be rescued later. So we'll see.
And I say that because there's too much. I don't know if Pedro Pascal is just too busy, and they decided to lift Katie Sackhoff into the role, but she's been doing way too much press, and they've been pushing her. And they've had her at Disneyland. And if somebody's doing press for The Mandalorian, it's Katie Sackhoff. So are they trying to mess with us? Or, they're doing too much with Katie Sackhoff.
Pedro's also just incredibly busy.
Yeah.
But you don't need necessarily Pedro. You just need him to do voiceover.
Yeah.
So
that's a day or two. He's not even on set.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the stunts are done by those 2 other guys. So
he hasn't been in the suit all season.
Yeah.
He's very rarely in the suit. I think we're going to see him this coming up episode because they're going to take his suit off and he'll be in chains or something. He'll be in bondage some kind of way. I think we'll see Pedro Pascal in this episode, but that's the only time we're ever going to see him. It's
got to be an easy paycheck for him because all he does is show up for 2 days and does audio recording, but Pedro Pascal is the Mandalorian. He's synonymous with it. He's a household name now because of it. Like, don't shoot that golden goose.
I don't think they're going to shoot it, but they're going to put it on the back burner for about half a season.
Yeah, I think he'll be like Han and Carbonite for a bit.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. And truthfully, the way that they modulate his voice and stuff, he can do that on a computer, do that over Zoom. He doesn't need to be in necessarily, Disney, the studios to do that. Two more
bullet points.
Let's go.
Stormtroopers in Beskar armor. I thought that was awesome. And do we have a new Darth Vader?
I think we got a new Boba Fett and a new, because if you look at the concept art of Boba Fett compared to those Super Troopers, the white, it's the chest piece is exact. I mean, it is and they put a clone trooper type T-visor in the helmet. They made the helmet more clone trooper than Mandalorian, but it's a direct ripoff, not a direct homage to the original art of Boba Fett. Those stories.
Are there people in those suits? Do we know, or were those dark troopers though?
He called them Dark Trooper armor, or the next evolution of the Dark Trooper, but I assumed it was people in there.
He went through that little gate of of laser, before he went to the Shadow Council, and they were just kind of standing there. So I wondered if they were dark troopers or they're actual troopers.
But
yeah,
y'all are missing what else? What else did he walk by when he on his way to the Shadow Counselor?
Yeah, a bunch of vats of clones or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe Snoke, but
I think they were the people that were inside of the suits.
So are they clones? That's
possible.
That's kind of.
You think we're gonna get Rekka?
Compared to the Empire, maybe.
Yeah. And then
I was gonna say, the first thing I thought of when they made their appearance was like, are these the what am I thinking of? The super commandos.
Yeah.
And are those the ones that were loyal to him? Because then initially I was like, they were wearing white. I'm like, are those the super commandos? But then you see that they're troopers.
Yeah, me too. Because they are very similar to those to that clan of Mandalorians.
And of course, the huge prequel tie-ins with the Praetorian Guards making their appearance as well. So
yeah, I was going to bring that up. The last stand of Paz Vizsla in The Last Jedi. I thought Paz Vizsla was awesome. I think at one point I'm like, is this a little too much? Is he a little too super soldier? But if the Mandalorians are such an enemy for the Empire, if they really need to squash them and put them down, you have to show that they are capable of putting up a fight and really being a threat to the Empire. And so I thought that really sold that point.
Yeah.
But then when those Praetorian Guards came out, I was like, oh yeah, even there's slow motion. It was like, here they come to clean up. That was my son's favorite scene from The Last Jedi. He loves those characters, and he was like, really happy to see the 3 Praetorian Guards come out, even at the end of the episode, because they kill Paz Vizsla, and then they just kind of walk off, and then the credits roll, and he goes, oh, I hope they make Funkos of that. And I'm like, dude, no.
Dude, I love the Praetorian Guard. That everybody poo-poos on The Last Jedi or whatever movie that's in, but that's one of my favorite lightsaber battles is Rey and Kylo versus those guards. That's one of my favorite lightsaber battles.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of been an area of Star Wars lore that hasn't been explored a lot in film. Is the Imperial Guards, Senate Guards, Royal Guards, Praetorian Guards.
Mm-hmm.
I know Crimson Empire explored it in the EU, but you wonder whether that could be an area of exploration as well, because we've certainly they're kind of one of these after the Mandalorians, they're one of these elite kind of super soldier groups. And
I wondered if they are Mandalorians.
I don't think they are. I think some of them are like force sensitive, like the Shadow Guard and things like that. But I think it's just a different culture. But it's and I think they're recruited to be part of that rather than being their own kind of culture per se.
Right.
I think you guys already talked about Ahsoka last week. Maybe I can't remember.
We can talk about Ahsoka again.
Yeah, I got news where I'm going to fly through real quick, but let's talk about the.
Well, hold on one second before, because I want to bring. Okay, so, and I want to put this on tape because I think there's going to be 2 ways this thing ends. I've got 2 post-credit scenes in this thing. Here, Jason's going to love these.
Sabine.
It's the epilogue of Rebels. You're going to see the last half of the epilogue of Rebels.
Yeah.
Or you're going to see
Sabine.
Grogu. Well, you're going to see Sabine in that. Or you're going to see Grogu. He's going to go meditate. You're going to see a scene of him meditating and nobody comes to the rescue, a la Luke in the 2nd episode. But you're going to see hold on. Let me get my thoughts together. You're going to see him meditate and you're going to see Ezra wake up in the world between worlds.
No, shut up.
Leading into Ahsoka.
Sorry
You're
for
talking about the epilogue of Mandalorian?
I think it's going to lead. I think the epilogue of Mandalorian is going to lead into Ahsoka.
I'm pretty sure it will. Maybe not.
And those are the 2 ways. Say that again, Narayan.
I have a different thought there. I think it's going to do more with Thrawn.
Or it could be Thrawn. I think that them showing Thrawn, Hera, and Sabine in Celebration ruins the reveal in Mandalorian.
I don't think they'll be revealed in Mandalorian.
I don't think they're going to be revealed. With them showing them in Celebration, they're not going to be revealed in Mandalorian.
No world between worlds.
Dude,
There
okay.
is something that was revealed at Celebration that most of the public didn't see. It has been leaked, obviously, but I do think we may get a glimpse of Thrawn at the end of Mandalorian, possibly, and maybe not a full, front view, but I think we will see Thrawn pulling the strings somehow.
Be awesome.
But yeah,
I mean,
but yeah, I would love to talk about the Ashoka trailer and Ashoka panel, which again was a huge, huge moment at Celebration.
yeah.
If you guys haven't already
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let's discuss it because I want to talk a little bit about it because then I've got something that's going to piss Jason off too. So
If you say world between worlds, I'm off the show. No, I'm joking.
well, actually, before we get into it, there was a quick interview with Dave Filoni, and somebody asked him, how much Rebels do you need to watch to know what's going on in Ahsoka? And he said, go to season 4, watch Jedi Knight. He disappeared, started Jedi Knight and finished watching it. And what comes after Jedi Knight, Jason?
Sabine.
No, it's not
world
Sabine.
between worlds.
World Between Worlds.
Anyways, go ahead, Narayan. What did you think of? Because you were in the panel, you saw the trailer. What was your impression?
Yeah, so I didn't see the panel in the Celebration stage, but in the Galaxy stage, which was the second streaming panel. But no less buzz in that room. In fact, I think probably the most anticipated panel of Celebration, for most people, and amazing to see the new cast. And I was a bit surprised that the new characters were revealed. I don't think I had heard about them. Maybe there was some leak ahead of time about who they were, but and I went into this panel just seeing the trailer that was revealed at the Lucasfilm panel the day before, and of course the two big reveals for me, the two new dark Force users, Balon Scott, I can't remember their names now. Balon Score, and
they're named
Skull.
after two mythic
Skull.
wolves from whatever. Where's that? Norse god wolves or something. They take their names from those two wolves.
yeah,
Skull and Haiti.
Yeah, and Shin Hati, I guess, is the other.
Yeah.
And I assume they're together, like a master and apprentice type thing. And I also heard maybe that the Shin was a Night Sister, possibly. But that to me was a big reveal that I didn't anticipate seeing other Force users in Ahsoka, as part of this plot, but really throws a wrench into a lot of things. So we got to see both those new actors on stage, as well as Morgan Elsbeth, which we were introduced to in the Mandalorian Ahsoka episode, and she seems to play a huge part in this new series as well. And of course, the huge new reveal at the very end of the panel, we did get to see an extended trailer, longer than the one that most of the public saw on Friday, and they revealed that Grand Admiral Thrawn would be played by Lars Mikkelsen himself, the voice of Thrawn from Rebels. And he came out on stage to the audience to huge cheers. And just a great moment to see that he was going to be live action Thrawn. And but of course, Mary Elizabeth Winstead again confirmed. Most of us already knew that was going to happen, but just to see her on stage and the chemistry that the three main female leads had, Sabine, Natasha, Rosario, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, clearly feel that chemistry between them.
Hey, real quick, do everybody knows who Mary Elizabeth Winstead is married to?
Hello there.
Hello there. So Jason, you must be really jealous of her.
Yes.
Incredibly.
She's a cute. but yeah, she's great, perfect casting. I can't wait to see how she tackles the role of Hera. And of course, and I didn't mention, but Chopper came on stage as well, which is great. So
Yeah, they did that last year too, and it took my
Oh.
brain a second to realize what I was seeing because it was like, oh crap.
yeah, and it looks like all the complaints that people had about like the appearances of Ahsoka, including her leku, her the length of her leku, and all, they've kind of taken all that to heart, and the technology has caught up to what they're able to do. So she's able to be more active in that whole makeup this time as compared to what we saw in the Mandalorian. But yeah, let's talk about the new footage that was revealed. So most of us have probably seen the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
There's clearly reference to Heir of the Empire and Thrawn, and what we got to see in the panel was Thrawn from the front.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly you could see Lars Mikkelsen with the blue makeup and the red eyes. And I believe the shot that we see Morgan Elsbeth is on the same bridge that we see Thrawn.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yes,
must
it
be
is.
the same bridge or the same, area of the ship talking to each other. A lot more shots of Sabine, this time handling Ezra's green lightsaber. Don't know exactly where that was, but there are definitely shots of her on Lothal. You can clearly see, the large kind of antenna complex on Lothal that she's standing on. And
there are shots that mirror Rebels in that
the
trailer.
ship that Ahsoka arrives in on is the same, and you see the grassy lands of Lothal's plains, and you see her on a speeder as well. And there's an area where I think it's there's a large explosion. I don't know if I believe that's Lothal as well that you see that.
Hey, Jason, what does that look like? What does that look like, Jason? You're excited about this? That speeder,
The E-wing, yes,
the E-wing.
The E-wing was there.
I saw it. I found it on TikTok. I know I forwarded it to you, Jason. So I don't know if you had a chance to watch it because it was taken down really quick.
Yeah, I saw it. The E-wing was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the Sabine, and I don't believe the Sabine full armor reveal was in the trailer, but it was shown as a photo still.
Yep. That leaked as well.
And clearly hairstyle changes a few times in some of the stills as compared to what the shots that we see in the trailer. So so I don't know the length of period that we're seeing this show, but clearly there's enough time for Sabine to have different hairstyles and from one to another shot.
I think there's going to be multiple time jumps in this season,
but not world jumps.
Oh, I think there's going to be world jumps. What do you think? She cuts the hole in.
The initial place that you see Ahsoka in the trailer, where she cuts a ring and falls into like an underground area. I thought that was initially going to be the remnants of the temple in Lothal, but I'm not sure it is. It may be a different place altogether, because I think she clearly encounters some of the Dark Jedi in that area, or dark Force users, and so there was very little reveal about the world between worlds in that trailer, and I don't know if that's a little misdirection, but I didn't see it there, it's it left me wondering exactly which direction the show is going. They're trying to convince the New Republic that there's a threat. You clearly see Mon Mothma, and it looks like
that was cool.
Hera on Home One, basically testifying or something, or basically trying to alert people of the the danger. So I love how they're tying together a lot of these different shows, Andor, and the characters. You see Genevieve O'Reilly again in that trailer for Ahsoka, and again, I feel like there's a lot more crossover. And then now with the announcement of the Dave Filoni movie, that will end the Mandoverse, you can see it all kind of building together, and I love that that's happening. It's kind of Star Wars cinematic universe, or Mando cinematic universe, that's kind of been building with these multiple shows, and they're tying it together. And I assume we'll see I'm really hoping we see Bo-Katan cross over into the Ahsoka show. I'm hoping we see Captain Rex. Maybe Tamira Morrison will be there. And I'm sure we'll see Boba Fett again.
I'm real surprised we hadn't seen Ahsoka or Boba Fett in Mandalorian yet. In this season of Mandalorian.
And maybe it's because they're busy handling some things that we haven't been shown yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I'm glad that things are kind of not disparate projects, that they're all thinking.
Yeah, it's one universe.
Yeah, one
right.
big picture. And I did miss I've not had a chance yet to see any clips of the Andor season 2 trailer. I know that was shown, but I have not seen any online yet. I haven't had a lot of time to really research this, but I do know that was shown. There hasn't been a lot of buzz post-celebration about it, but I don't know if you guys have had the chance to see it or not. But there
no,
was
I hadn't.
Footage shown.
No, nothing's leaked.
Yeah.
I've been too focused on Ahsoka.
Yeah, but yeah, clearly brought the house down, and love seeing all the new iterations that we're going to see. I can't wait. It definitely feels like Rebels. It definitely feels like a continuation of that story. And the last shot of that trailer actually is Ahsoka and Sabine coming in their ship, and you see a large creature, which initially was like, is that an Exogorth? The creature that comes out of the asteroid in Empire Strikes Back, but it's a Purrgil. Look at it more closely, and so they're clearly going to where the Purrgils are, and we already hit those have already been hinted at in The Mandalorian. So you wonder if they have a home world somewhere, or a place that they kind of settle, and that's where Ezra is. That's what we're going to find him. We do see a small glimpse of Ezra in a holographic image, not enough to get a lot of detail, but clearly Sabine is thinking about him. And so, yeah, it's there's a lot to be excited about. I can't wait to see where they go.
We got 4 months.
How many episodes that Ahsoka is going to be?
Maybe 8.
Is it?
I thought it was 6, but
okay. I'm not sure if they even mentioned it at the panel.
Yeah, I don't know. 6. They better be boom, boom, boom. There better not be any filler in 6 episodes.
It looked very epic in scope too.
Yeah.
It felt like the images they showed in that trailer just were like it didn't feel like a small show.
Mhm.
But it was amazing. But yeah, great panel. All the panels I went to at Celebration were amazing. The Bad Batch panel was great.
third and final season.
Third and final season was announced, and it was great to see the main cast. Talk about the last season, especially some of the big events like Tech. And it was D. Bradley Baker was great, switching between voices during that panel, and it was great to see Michelle Ang in live on a live stage.
Omega.
She just sounds exactly like Omega. It's amazing to see her and hear her. But yeah, the glimpses that we saw, I did see Fennec Shand and Captain Wolf featured in that trailer. A Kraken-like creature, and Palpatine basically arriving on Mount Tantus. So they're clearly playing up that whole clone emperor, building to that. And I think we'll see more of that in both The Mandalorian, obviously, and in Ahsoka. And tying that together with the Thrawn, which of course a lot of us who are familiar with the EU know about Mount Tantus and the Heir to the Empire story, and where that's going. So they're definitely putting all those pieces in place through various projects. And again, it shows that they know what they're doing. They are definitely these multiple projects in different timelines. They're dropping in the pieces in place to set up the bigger arc. So one of my other favorite panels, I know this was the Obi-Wan panel, by the way, which they never really had a chance to talk about in Anaheim because the show was airing then. And to finally see the main cast of Obi-Wan talk about it and all the great moments from that show and not have to worry about secrets that they couldn't reveal to the public was amazing. See Vivian Lyra Blair, who's just a sweetheart. Just talk about her role as Leia was amazing. And to see Ewan and Hayden talk about that scene, that final duel between them on that asteroid or that moon, to see them both talk about that scene, how much it meant and their journey together, both as actors, how they got to that point, and how much emotion both of them showed in that scene and right there in that hall when they talked about it, was just amazing to watch. And even though it was a retrospective panel, nothing new was revealed. I thought that was one of the best panels at Celebration, at least that I got to experience, because of how I think how invested they were both, all of those actors were in bringing that to life. So, and I think they finally got a chance to talk about it, which, it was a funny time for them to, when that show was just airing and Celebration was just happening, they could only talk so much about it. But really now, a year later, they could, fully go into it. So
yeah, be open. So as far as the news, just wanted to mention one thing real brief. There was a live stream last night in the Micro Machine Action Fleet Micro Galaxy Squadron Facebook group with Maxwell Lux, the senior brand manager for that line. And he did say that there is another Starfighter class reveal coming up for the last Mando Mania reveal. It's going to be revealed by John Favreau and Dave Filoni themselves. And they said that they took this vehicle home with them.
Gosh, I wonder what that ship could be.
So look forward to seeing the Ghost real soon in the Micro Galaxy line.
By the way, I missed that panel completely. What was revealed? I know Max did show me some new vehicles. He even, well, I'll stop there.
B-Wing, U-Wing, a T-70, a Y-Wing, a V-Wing, a TIE Silencer, a Desert Skiff, a Geonosian Starfighter, twin Cloud Pilot, Resistance A-Wing.
Did they show the N? Did you mention N1? Did they show the N1?
They showed that the N1 was coming, but they didn't say if it, I don't think they said if it was the Mando version, which I would assume it is, or the
well, it's silver,
Naboo
so I
version.
would assume it was Mando.
The U-Wing, an AT-AT AT-AT Imperial Walker, but then there's an Endor version with mud on it.
I did get to see. I was one of the first people to see the AT-AT on the floor before it actually was even put there. I saw the Imperial shuttle as well, and but yeah, a lot of it was kind of behind frosted glass before it was actually revealed. But yeah, Max was very generous.
Max is awesome.
Very generous.
Yeah.
And I have some surprises for you guys.
Awesome.
I think I already told you actually, but he gave me some of the exclusives and a couple other vehicles I did not expect him to give me as well. But it was Max was also a big fan of our swag set. He's like, yeah, said, don't worry, I'll get you the exclusives and you get me some swag.
Nice. I'll take care of him next time.
I think Max may be the new swag addict that we.
Yeah. I appreciate how open he is, because he was talking about how expensive it is to make the master tools for this line, and to be profitable, you just have to use it to the max, which is why, no pun intended, but why you have to have 6 different lats, because it's expensive, and so you have to repaint to make money.
Right.
That's why they've released 3 different versions of the Millennium Falcon, and that's why they keep hitting the tie thing over and over again. It's just what they got to do.
But the tie thing is, they're all different ties. It's not like they keep repainting the tie, except for Sabine's TIE Fighter. They don't keep repainting it. It's always,
I mean,
right.
The compartment could be the same, and the other parts could be different.
It's not carbonized.
There you go. Our
smart repaints. I
Or
like
the credit
how
collection.
they're handling their repaints as compared, to.
They did a giveaway at the end, and I won something. Max said, "I'm going to get you something from my office," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." It could be just a paper clip. It could be. We'll see. But
So did a lot of people win something, or just you?
there was 4 people. He had a first shot of Cobb Vanth.
Oh wow!
He gave away the Munlist lat. He said this is the first one to come off the line. He gave that away. He gave away the blind box, the gun that hovers with the stormtrooper.
Uh-huh.
He had that on his desk. He gave that away, and then he's like, "I'm just going to give away something from my office." And because he was on our podcast, I was able to answer the question, and that's how I won that one. So,
Oh well, maybe I should
anyway,
have tuned in.
you
I was
should.
watching Marvelous Mrs. Maisel last night, and then we went to bed. I probably should
I
have.
was watching the Marvelous Maxwell Lux.
Yeah. I do have to gripe a little bit about. No, not. This has nothing. It's Micro Galaxy Squadron, but it's not Micro Galaxy Squadron. It's pre-order stuff, because I pre-ordered all that, like the First Order TIE Fighter and Poe Dameron's X-Wing months ago on Amazon, and they're like re-releasing them or coming back up for pre-order. So I go to pre-order them, and I'm like, oh man, I can't pre-order them, and then I realized I ordered them months ago. So I can see how people would get upset with the pre-order process.
Yeah.
I do have to say, switching gears from Micro Galaxy, but I was pleasantly surprised by the Mando N1 Starfighter, seeing it in person. It looks amazing, very well detailed, and the price point surprised me.
Yeah,
130, that looks like a deal, a steal. It has a lot of detail and a lot of features that I was not expecting, and it looks great in person.
awesome.
And it's I could see how it could have been a HasLab, and I'm glad that it wasn't.
Yeah.
And again, I was expecting that to be close to $200, and for it to be on the 30. And I mean, yeah, it is more expensive than vehicles from a few years ago, but still,
With the figure too.
yeah. I was hoping we'd had a Peli figure. That's the only disappointment I had there. But the packaging looks great. The vehicle looks great with the interchangeable, dome and droid compartments.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like a very cool ship and very faithful to the show, and nice weathering, nice detail to it. So yeah, I loved seeing that on display there, and yeah, look forward to getting that.
Awesome.
Well,
I'm holding out for the other HasLab that is supposed to be released.
It's a little surprised that they did not announce, but
that seems to be their MO, is that we're going to announce that there's a HasLab to get you ready to start saving, and then we're going to announce it later down the road. But they have something May 4th, so that would be a perfect opportunity to announce something.
Yeah, I was hoping to see a glimpse of the Ghost during the Ahsoka trailer. I'm surprised they did not. But
we got to see the Phantom 2, which is okay, but
did we see it?
Yeah, that's what Hera was driving when she was chasing that. It looked like a bullseye target.
When you see Chopper, you see Chopper. You see the Phantom 2, then you see Chopper, then you see Hera.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'll have to look back again. Clearly, I haven't had enough time to analyze every single thing from
Or you're just not a Rebels nerd like some of us.
No, he's still unwinding from Celebration. He just got back from international travel.
Yeah,
in a tornado, packed to the walls. Anyways, as George Lucas once said, thank you for listening to the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. If you could, please leave a like and a 5-star review of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts. If it's allowed, it really helps us out and helps people find our show. You can follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We love feedback, and we love to make you part of the show. And Ryan, this was your 6th appearance on the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. I just did the math. Our email, so you're a 5-timer. We need to get you a jacket. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Thank you to Alfonso Riviera for the Smugglers Galaxy logo. You can find him at Rock the Force podcast. And thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the Smugglers Galaxy music. Hasbro re-release VC66, hashtag vote with your wallet. Sabine will be on next week. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collecting community. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.